Welcome to this video review of our 6th concert in the Brighton Philharmonic Orchestra's 2017-18 concert season. I am Ian Brignall and I am the concert manager for the orchestra. For our 2nd concert in 2018, we introduce you to 3 great composers who became synonymous with the beginning of the Romantic era. Schubert, a young genius who died young but moved the composition of the symphony from the classical to the Romantic. Mendelssohn, possibly by now a Romantic composer, but yet again a young genius who flowered brilliantly and again was destined also to die young. Finally, Dvorak, a colossus in the writing of the Romantic symphony, heavily influenced by the symphonies of Haydn and Brahms, but ultimately he changed the shape of the music destiny of his native Slavic country. For this concert we are joined by the pianist-conductor Howard Shelley. No stranger to the Brighton Philharmonic Orchestra, we are delighted to welcome Howard back to play 3 key works of the 19th century. Franz Schubert wrote these 2 movements of his 8th symphony, sometimes renumbered as his 7th symphony, in 1822, and for various reasons left it incomplete. It was first performed in Vienna in 1865, well after Schubert's death in 1828, aged 31. Subsequently though, even incomplete, it has been a great favourite in the concert hall. There are various reasons that scholars feel that Schubert didn't finish this symphony. He certainly was composing it when he contracted syphilis for the first time, and this reminder could have halted its composition. Schubert was also writing the Wanderer fantasy for piano, which was taking a great deal of his time and energy. Importantly, the finished 2 movements are in triple time, and the 3rd movement's sketch was also in 3. This was rare in symphonic writing, and major composers of this era would not have written a complete piece in the same metre. It does, though, herald the start of the Romantic era. The lyricism in the symphonic writing, the use of instruments for interesting soundscapes rather than functionality, the use of fabulous melody within the structure, and Schubert pushing at the bounds of the sonata form to create a rare and beautiful gem of orchestral writing. Felix Mendelssohn wrote this, his first piano concerto, in 1830-31, whilst on tour in Italy. It was written about the same time as his 4th symphony, the Italian, and has the same lightness of touch and brilliant orchestral writing as this ever-popular symphony. It was first performed to great acclaim in Munich in 1831. Mendelssohn had taken the score with him to the Erard piano showroom in Paris in early 1831 and had a chance meeting with the piano virtuoso and composer Franz Liszt. Liszt subsequently placed the barely legible score on the piano and played the whole concerto from sight. Mendelssohn was hugely impressed by this and wrote to friends claiming he had seen a miracle of piano playing. In 3 movements, it is in typical sonata form, but with its elegant melodies and careful piano and orchestral writing, it moves gently away from the precise classical form of earlier concertos. The tunes and sheer exuberance of this concerto continue to delight both audiences and performers, and is a perfect showcase for our pianist today, Howard Shelley, who will also direct the orchestra. Anton Dvorak wrote his 6th symphony in 1880 and dedicated it to the conductor Hans Richter and the Vienna Philharmonic Orchestra. He wrote it in a matter of months, and it is the first of Dvorak's large-scale symphonies that caught the attention of international audiences and promoters alike. It is a 4-movement symphony in the German classical romantic form, and within it captures perfectly the Czech folk songs and national style of his homeland. He became friendly with Brahms at the writing of this symphony, and Dvorak takes the template of Brahms' 2nd symphony, written 3 years earlier, as his inspiration. The symphony was not performed by Hans Richter and the Vienna Philharmonic Orchestra. The performance kept being postponed. This was a time of heightened tensions in Europe, and the Viennese and the orchestra were taking exception to non-German composers being performed. In the end, it was first performed by the Czech Philharmonic Orchestra in 1883, and in fact the Vienna Philharmonic Orchestra did not perform it until 1942. Hans Richter first performed it in London in 1882, and from this time it became very popular in Europe and placed Dvorak as one of the most foremost composers of his generation. In 4 movements, this symphony captures the folk song elements of Dvorak's native Bohemia, and the 3rd movement, Furient, uses a very famous Czech tune as the basis of the movement. It had to be encored after the first performance, as the audience immediately recognised it. I look forward to seeing you at this concert of two young composers who influenced the creation of a romantic style and a very nationalistic composer who transformed symphonic writing firmly into the romantic era.